Good evening, everybody. Good evening. I'm Katrina. This is Sow and Tare live chat every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And I hope everybody's doing good. And welcome. If you haven't been here before, I read through the comments. We talk about whatever people want to talk about. If you don't want to talk about what we're talking about and you want to talk about something else, go ahead and put a comment in and we'll get to your topic. Lots of topics on here. Sometimes we get silly, and yeah, let's go for it. And then in the middle somewhere, unless someone brings it up beforehand, there's a topic of discussion that I have in my head. So welcome. Please keep comments family friendly, and we'll see what people have to say. All right, Aaron. Hi, Aaron. Is your barn done? I know you didn't. I didn't even say good evening. Good evening. Aaron says, good evening, everyone, watching from South Louisiana. And Aaron is in the same planting zone as I am. 9B. And Verna, hi, Verna. Verna is my moderator. You'll see her in blue, Vay's Place. She also has a YouTube channel and has lives on Wednesday, midday, and Saturday mornings. So check her out. Aaron, how cold did you get during the storm? Oh, yes. By the way, I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday. And I hope everybody, didn't lose too much power and didn't get too cold. Our storm actually wasn't this last week. It's coming tomorrow. And actually, we just had some raindrops today. So, and our storm is going to be in the form of rain, not snow, like a lot of you guys. Yeah. Berta says, I hope you had a very blessed Christmas. Ours was low key, made some quail. And as you guys saw on the video today, one of those quail was a bully. I have not experienced bullies, really. I mean, there was one jerk, but I've not experienced bullies before. And I had them in the quailmobile, which is more like a cage setting. And so I'll be interested to see as I continue to use them if that is an environmental thing or if I just got a dud. Yeah. Hi, Dawn. How you doing? Says, hi, Aaron. Good evening. Verna says, hey, Katrina, hope your Christmas was blessed. Low key, I literally was going to make pie. I got the pie crust out of the freezer, put it in the refrigerator, and it's still there. But that's okay. We spent much of Christmas cuddling little bunnies, so low key. Yeah. Aaron says actual temps got down to 22, but the wind chill got down to 4 Fahrenheit. Wow, that's probably unusual for you for where you are, Aaron, in Louisiana. Yeah. Everybody saying hi. Verna had wind chill of negative 35. And Lucy came back every time, right? She was letting her out just to go pee, and she'd send her out and she'd come back. Hopefully her paws were all right. Dawn's going to make some tea. And Verna had her first cup of fresh pot. I'm guessing that's a coffee. Aaron says, my garden is total mush. Yep. So last storm, I was going to plant seeds. This storm, I was like, oh, maybe I should plant seeds. Nope. We have 2 to 3 inches coming. So there's no point in me planting seeds right now outside because they will rot. Yeah, and I had that happen one year. And actually, I saw this today. I did not take a picture. But I saw that today I have a volunteer pea that came up. It must have come up a while ago. It's about that tall. So that's pretty cool. So that tells me I should have planted peas because it did actually come up in a pot, which I didn't plant them in. So I'm not sure how it got there, which I'm okay with that. Mother Nature can take care of a lot of things. Yeah, Verna says, yeah, cold weather will kill a garden really quick. Yep. But if you have things like beets and stuff, I don't know how cold they can get down to, but they would be easier to protect, like with a row cover. I've never gardened in a place that gets really, really cold. And when I grew up in Central Oregon in the high desert, we didn't have a winter garden. It was just a summer garden. So Yeah, so my experience with winter gardening and fall gardening is here in California. Yeah. Jesse, good evening, everyone. Good evening. I hope you're doing well. And I saw your news, so I hope everybody in your family's doing well. Yeah. I skipped. Where I skipped from. Hey, Diana's here. Diana Tuttle Tut Farms. Good evening, all. Good evening. I believe you emailed me and I did not email you back, so I'm sorry, and I will email you back. Things got busy this week. Verna put her link to her channel. Steve's here. S.O. Swanson. Good evening, everyone from Mississippi. So are you just greeting everybody from Mississippi, or are you greeting everyone because you're in Mississippi? Welcome, Steve. And I have a question for you, maybe, if someone doesn't bring it up. That's the question of the day. And I don't know if you'll know the answer or not. So stay on. Everybody saying hi, Diana. Aaron says, Katrina, I found a tomato for you to check out. Arkansas Traveler tomato. I have heard of that. I have some from M.I. Gardner. I have heard of that. And I will write it down right now. So I have it written. Arkansas Traveler. Awesome. And then I did have, I was on the Value Added Summit a few weeks ago, and I won $100 gift certificate for Johnny Seeds. And I did ask them, when they asked for my address to send it, I did ask them about heat tolerant tomatoes. For those new to the live chat, we've been talking a little bit about heat tolerance in tomatoes because my tomatoes just have done terrible the last 2 years when we've had humongous temperatures. And they actually said, and I haven't looked yet, but they actually said that for Johnny Seeds, they have on their website like a category that you can look for heat tolerance. So I haven't checked that out yet, but that was very helpful of them. Thank you, Erin. Everybody saying hi, Steve. Jesse says, about time you showed up to Steve. Hey, you weren't first either, Jesse. Verna says, Katrina, I know at 10 days old so far, I have 2 roos out of 13 birds. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a good, it's a good sex ratio. Maybe it's in your favor. You just don't eat any this time. wait and have that be your breeder group. So hopefully they're good roos. Yeah. Aaron says, Katrina, quail barn is complete. Awesome. That is great. Hopefully there's no place a raccoon can get in. Steve saying hi to everyone. Verna says, yep, she came in within 15 minutes. She's doing great. Okay, so she's talking about Lucy, her doggie. Yeah, that's good. Witch Doctor, hey, you're here early. Welcome. I hope you had a good holiday. She says, hey everyone, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Verna says, aren't you supposed to get a high winds with the rain? Not only are you supposed to get high winds, we have a gale warning for tomorrow, and we have an aerial flood advisory for tomorrow, which that means that it will rain so much from the sky that it will flood. Instead of like a flash flood where it rains over there and then it comes at you, this just means it's going to be a heavy downpour, which probably means that my screening porch is going to have a little bit of leaks again. Because last time that happens, the gutter overflowed and went onto the tin roof for the screening porch, and I think there was like some backflow stuff happening. So just got to be prepared for that. Yeah. Let's see. Hey, me. Oh, Mel. Vern, I thought you said, hey, me. Everybody's saying hi to Witch Doctor. It's funny. Verna says, my garlic looks okay still. We'll know in a couple days. Yeah, my garlic is growing. The one that, so I have some that I left. I have left all of the ones that I've been eating off of in the screen and porch just because that's the kind of year it's been. And the ones that I left in the ground, which were too small, and I was like, I'm going to let you go another year. They're up about that tall, so it's pretty good. If you haven't planted garlic, it might be time to do that. If you have snow on the ground, it's not time. Yeah. Verna says hugs to Jesse and family. Yes. Yep. Big hugs. Aaron says I'll send you pictures of the seed package. Awesome. Yeah, and my gardener, I haven't ever gotten his seeds, but I know a lot of people have, and they do well, so that's good. Yeah. Jesse says, thanks, Katrina. It's not easy to deal with, but we knew it was coming. That's helpful. So not quite as hard as when it's completely unexpected. That is absolutely correct. Yeah, it's still hard. Yeah. Dawn says, Arkansas Traveler has been my number one for high heat and humidity here for over 10 years. Awesome. Dawn, remind me of where you are. I think you said Illinois. I may be wrong. Indiana? I don't remember where you are. Yeah. Verna says we got 4 or 5 inches of snow. Then it snowed again today. Wow. Yeah, we are going to get rain, and so rain usually when we get it like a half inch is a lot, and at least in recent years, a half inch of rain in a day is a lot. Or, that's handleable. But when we're talking about 2 to 3 inches in a day or two, that becomes somewhat problematic with the creeks overflowing. And whenever that happens, we always get there's a crossing in town that always gets flooded, and we just know it's going to happen whenever there's a lot of rain. But yeah, it's interesting to see what weather people have been getting with all this, because I think it was because we're on this side of the Rocky Mountains, this side being west. We didn't see any of that big storm. And I know some places got it and it wasn't as bad as it was predicted, and other places got it and it was worse. So yeah. Jesse says we got our second round of snow last night. Steve says snow, yuck, none for me, please. Yeah. Snow is it can be good, but then if it's slush, then that's not good. And then if it's frozen slush, that's even worse. Yeah. Aaron says we moved a big load of quail from the brooder to the quail barn yesterday. That brooder temp got below 30 and they did fine. They are 3.5 weeks old. So it was time to get them out. Yeah. That sounds good. It went down to 30 and they were fine. That's awesome. Manuel's here. Hello guys. I'm checking in to say hi. He is somewhere here. We just got done moving the quail mobiles to go into a different location. So basically we scrape back the wood chip pathway, put the cart over it, and put the birds in it. They do all the droppings, and then we cover it back up with, basically burying the poop. And what that does is it turns it into compost. So it's been working really well. And we actually just butchered both of the quail mobiles full. So we had 30 birds that we butchered, and it took 2 hours, 15 minutes, which is good. I'm getting faster at that, and it's faster when he helps skin them. But yeah, so that was good. So I basically right before this, I finished power washing. It's the hose attachment. We have a power washer. We have a hose attachment power washer. But power washing that out. And so that was done. And then we moved in a new place, and then he filled it while I ran in here. Yeah. Don says Southeast Central Illinois. Hey, I got it right. 100 plus in summer, high humidity and drought. Yeah, we don't get the high humidity, but we dealt with the past 2 years. we've had long spans of 100 plus degrees, which is exhausting. And I've been in the Midwest. I did my undergraduate in Iowa, and so I am familiar with the humidity, and I do not appreciate it. Yeah. Aaron says, Steve, you need some snow. Everybody's saying hi to Minimal. Jesse says, it is starting to warm up. We got to above 3 today. It was a heat wave. Did that mean it went away? Yeah. Minimal's going to go visit his girls. Yep. Don says, radar showed 1 to 3 inches of snow here today. We got 10 flakes. That's kind of the story my brother had. He's in Wisconsin. And he's like, yeah, we did. It was fine. We didn't get it. Yeah. So, hey, Ed's here. Hi, Ed. Hope you're doing well. You forgot what day it was. It's okay. It's okay. It's the day after Christmas. Thanks for coming. Manuel says, hi guys, nice to see you guys here. Hope you guys have a nice Christmas. Bye. No more crumble. Oh, there is. I just have it in a different place. Okay. Okay, thanks. All right. Everybody saying hi to Ed? Steve says, congrats. Been what, 2 days since your release? Uh-oh. There's a story there? Just freeze-dries saltwater taffy. I like it better than normal taffy. Ed, does it poof? Does it become like those puffy, I think I've seen videos of them. They're like that big, right? But do they become like that, what is it called? I think it's called sea foam or something like that. Yeah. Don says Jericho lettuce is good for 100 degrees and drought too. Yeah, I stopped growing lettuce. I could grow it during the winter, but I like salads. But it's like when you go to the salad bar and everything's cut up for you and you just put things together. If I had everything cut up in my refrigerator, I would have more salads. But what I do have are the things that you can grow when it's hot. So things like chard and stuff like that. And there's other greens that you can eat that isn't salad. Although one year I did have a salad forest. I mean, lettuce. I did have a lettuce forest. And one of my neighbors came over with her dog and let him off leash because, it's in the yard. And this is when my lettuce had gone to seed. And I just like, oh, yeah, I'll let it go to seed. Well, it was very prolific. And it came up everywhere in my pathways because it's just wood chips. It's really great, growing medium for that. And I had just let it grow. And so there was like 2 to 3 feet tall lettuces everywhere. And we're just talking. And all of a sudden we hear, and he had gotten lost in the lettuce. We had to go find him. He was up against a wall of lettuce and he didn't know how to get out. It was so cute. Yeah. Verna says, Katrina from the Weatherman, I watched this morning. He said, with all the rain you'll be getting, it will end the drought. People say that and it's just not true. We're in a drought that's been, 50 plus years long. And what's normal, I guess when they say it'll end a drought, it means you're in the safe zone for the year is really, I think, what they mean, because there's no way you're ending a drought with one storm. I mean, if it doesn't rain the rest of the year, what happens, But yeah, it's going to have a lot and the reservoirs are going to start filling up and all of that. The last big storm we had, I mean, it filled up the reservoir some, but it didn't fill them up all the way. So yeah, while it will help, I don't know about that. And I know that the annual averages out over 10-year period. And I don't remember if it's a continuous 10-year period or if it's set every 10 years, they look back, and every 10 years they look back. I don't remember which way it is, but I know it's out of 10 years. So yeah. Oh, Ed, out of Facebook jail. Okay. Got it. Yes, it puffs. So Ed is talking about the saltwater taffy. Yes, it puffs. Oh, have to cut each piece in half or it'll get too big. Okay. I suppose you could run the freeze dryer without a tray on top, right? Like, couldn't you just put in one tray or two trays and it can puff as big as it wants? I mean, I don't know why you would want one that big, but I'm assume that would work. Verna says, Ed, I put it in hold. Don't cut it. It comes out fine. I love it too. Awesome. Hey, Gidro's Urban Homestead is here. Welcome. I'm here and listening. We're going through seeds. It's time to start our peppers and tomatoes. Yeah, I know. Me too. I just haven't done it. Everybody's saying hi to Christina. That's Gidro's. Dawn says in our droughts and get a heavy rain, it all runs off and not much goes in to cover the cracks in the ground. Yeah, so that's one of the concerns in California specifically, because we've had the past couple of years have been so fire heavy, so like wildfire heavy. Soil scientists actually evaluate some of these, or all of them at some point, but they evaluate the fire areas, especially near trails and towns, because they want to know what the chance is for landslides. And what the fire does is if it burns hot enough, then it basically bakes the ground. So water doesn't go in, it slides off. And then that can increase the risk of landslides. So I know someone who works for the Forest Service that does that, and it needs to happen every time. And so that is a danger, that it does just go right off. And I think that's true of first rains usually, is if you get a heavy rain on the first rain, or on the first time it rains in the season, if it's a heavy rain, it will just, go off. And then if the first rain is a light rain, the second one's a light rain, it has some time for that, the ground to soak it up. So it's kind of like a sponge, right? So if you just blast a faucet on a sponge, it's not going to soak in. But if you let it sit there for a while, then it will soak in. So it's the same idea with soil. Yeah. Good point, Don. And Verna says, Katrina, it is because there are a number of storms that are heading your way. Yeah, so there might be several. Yeah, I know there's at least a couple weeks out. I saw the other day that we have another one coming. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think the definition of a drought is it a historic drought, or is it a annual measure, I guess, is where I'm struggling, because I feel like we're in drought every year, and it's like, oh, we're in drought, and then we have lots of rain, and then we're in drought. I mean, last year we had, in November, there was a really big storm, and up in the North Bay, they got 8 inches of rain in a 24-hour period, and we were still in drought that year. So, like, yeah, I think it depends on how you define when the drought is happening. Like, are you talking about the larger thing or the smaller context? Yeah. Witch Doctor says our Arctic blast was 20 degrees for the overnight low for like 3 days. Wow. But we were like 50 during the day. Yeah, that's cold for you where you guys are, I think. I think the coldest has been here since I've lived here, since 2013, I believe, is 22. That's what I know about, at least. Yeah. So I hope everybody's weathering their weather well. Like I said, we just got started with I think this is the second bigger storm coming through, and then there's going to be more. So, yeah. Oh, Witch Doctor just found her glasses, so she can now read the comments. You are typing blind. That's okay. It's okay. Welcome again. Yeah. So I'm going to ask a question, see if anybody knows. This is one that I thought that maybe Steve might know, maybe others. But so when I was cleaning out the quail mobiles with this, hose attachment power washer, I noticed that the one that I had all males in was much harder to clean than the one with, it was mostly females. It wasn't all females, but and my assumption on why the poop was sticking. So here's the design. I have 1 by 1/2 inch on top, and then the cart that it is on has diamonds about that big. So big and way big enough for poop to go through. But what was happening is when they molt, their feathers go through and then they kind of lay on that second layer. So my question that came in my mind, and you guys can think about it, or if you have an experience with it, or I might, bring up something that you didn't know you knew about, is whether males and females molt differently. And I'm wondering that because for quail, we're talking about quail here. I'm wondering that because I did notice a lot more feathers on the cart, not on the flooring, but on the cart that would hold the poop on the males than the females. So I don't know if that indicates that they lose it all at once or you're faster, or if they lose it more continuously. It's just an observation that I made. I'm wondering if anybody has some input or seen some similar things. So there's my question to the group. Let's see. Ed says, coldest it got here in Virginia was 12 Fahrenheit overnight with wind chill of -2. Well, that's pretty good, actually. Yeah. Virginia Beach, that is. Aaron says, the foam of the male quail is super sticky, so the feathers just stick more. So these are ones that are, I like your hypothesis. I like where your mind is going. But when we process them today, because it's winter and not getting light, their testes are about that big. So I'm not sure that they're foaming. I mean, I didn't test any of them, but they were 8 weeks yesterday. So it's a good theory. I honestly didn't pay attention if they foam it that early or not, because I'm not looking for it. But that would make sense. That would make sense, Aaron. Thank you. Don says, now that you mention it, Katrina, yes, for the bachelor cage molts, I noticed the feathers sticking in the wires really bad, and it seemed like they molted longer. So it's an extended molt. Okay. Jesse says, sounds like a new experiment for Verna to work on. Yeah. So Verna says, Aaron, that was what I was thinking. Steve says, is it that you don't see your female feathers as much? It gets worked in and hidden? No. So this is a garden cart. I think you guys have seen it in the videos. I haven't really pointed out all that much yet because I need to actually do a video. But it's the garden carts that are just like kind of like a gorilla cart. I mean, it's not as expensive as a gorilla cart, but where it has those diamond, like it's just metal. And it is literally like that big, but the feathers land on that. So what I was thinking was either they molt all at once and then there's just this big layer mess that just gets stuck, or that they molt longer and then therefore it's just piling on and kind of making a layered thing. I don't know. Yeah. And then it's all over it's on top of the bark chips. So like I see everything that falls down. But yeah. It's just an interesting observation that I had that I thought I'd bring to the group. Verna says, Jesse, I'm working on all that happens as I keep my breeders until they cut laying in half. So you're like in there with a little notebook. You have a recorder? You should get a recorder. day one. That's great though. I think it's great to pay attention to what they're doing, because you might find something that no one else has found yet. I mean, this is something that I haven't heard with the feathers. That's something that I haven't heard anybody talk about. So it's worth kind of exploring potential possibilities. And I think there's some good potential you guys mentioned with the foam, and then with them, the kind of molting that they do. Yeah, it's good to have observations and figure out potential reasons for that, hypotheses. Steve says, my bachelor cage does not get old enough for their first molt, so I never really noticed. Yeah, they molt at like 4-ish weeks. I don't know if, I mean, there's feathers, a lot of feathers, about then, and then they have a lot more feathers a little bit later on. I'm not sure exactly when, but they do, get rid of their baby feathers and have their adult feathers by 8 weeks. Yeah. Dawn says, maybe the foam makes the coated wire floor sticky then. Interesting. I was scrubbing the floor with a brush and the feathers still stuck, wrapped around the wire. 9 weeks old, I called. Yeah. And Dawn, do yours have light? Because mine don't get any extra light, and literally their testes were like that big when we butchered today. Yeah, so that was an interesting observation that I had. Verna says, Katrina, on day 5, they were getting their wing feathers. On day 8, today, they have most of the body and body feathers already. Yeah. I just noticed that when they're in the brooder, we start seeing feathers in the poop tray. I think around week 4, like when we had them in for winter for a little longer. I think it was week 4. But I don't know. Anyway, interesting topic. Yeah, interesting topic. So tomorrow's video, you guys will see, it'll be kind of short, but we increased kind of the roof. It's kind of silly looking, like, to be honest, but I think it's going to be effective. Because last time we had this big storm with gale warnings and all that stuff, we had rain going in the direction opposite of what usually goes, which we didn't really prepare for. So we went and got a tarp and fixed it. We'll see if it works. I think it will. So that'll be, I think, tomorrow's video. Yeah. Dawn says, mine are mating by 5 weeks old. Foam too. Yes, they get light in cubbies. Eggs at 5 to 5.5 weeks too. Yeah. Mine get light if they're inside, just because we're inside and have the lights on. And then if they're in the aviaries, they get light. But in these quiltmobiles, they really don't get light. I mean, they get some light from the street light that's way back on the alleyway, but I don't think there's no breeding behavior that I observed. So yeah, interesting. Steve says, I do notice that inside the cage there is more clumps of foam than poo, so I think that can be an effect. Yeah. Aaron says, Dawn, I have not had any quail lay before 8 weeks. I have. I've had some lay before 8 weeks, especially in the summer months. So, and I actually had some lay in these quailmobiles in the summer months, but way before they were actually done. We didn't even finish the roof doors, and we just like put something on top of it and said, okay, you're good. And luckily no raccoons came through. Yeah. Verna says, pulling out of incubator, they weighed an average of 10.07 grams. At 1 week, their average weight was 41.85 grams. They grow incredibly fast. They're amazing. Hey, Psycho Ward is here. Welcome. Hello, you quail peeps. All you quail peeps. How are you doing? Hopefully you're doing good. Dawn says the 9-week-old bachelor cage did not get light, and that is why they made it to 9 weeks. 8 weeks, they were good. By 9 weeks, I had a bloodbath and had to cull. Yeah, everybody's saying hi to Psycho Ward. Is Ricky. Yeah, this batch they didn't make hardly any sound at all, and I think it is because it's during the darkest part of the year. I mean, we just had the 21st was the solstice, so that's like the darkest part of the year. So we didn't have any issues with that from the males. I mean, in the female cage actually the problem one was a male, but we ate him. Aaron says my quail focus all their available time trying not to be alive, so laying is second on the to-do list. Aaron, you gotta go off your checklist and see why they're not staying alive. Is there a number one reason why your quail are not staying alive? That would be the one thing to try and figure out. Don says, Aaron, I don't know what to say. Mine are all just jumbo pharaohs and 3 batches of birds, all laid by 5.5 weeks. Maybe food or light issues. Yeah, I mean, food definitely helps. Light definitely helps. I have 2 aviaries. One has jumbos and the other one has mostly standards. There's some jumbos in there too. But it has an interesting thing that this winter, the jumbos have all been laying. Like, I get all of their eggs. So there's 16 females in there. I get 15 to 18 eggs a day in there. And then the other one, I get half to 3/4 of all the females in there. So I think that jumbos probably lay better, at least in my setting in the aviary. And I'm thinking about switching out my standards with new standards for my shire. But I haven't done that yet. So yeah. Verna put, why are my chicks dying? That's a my shire. That's a good my shire video to look at. Aaron's answer though about why his chicks are dying is mostly because they are not smart. I don't know. You got to help them be smart. You got to teach them. They don't know anything. They don't have a mama. Ed says maybe you should play that song by the Bee Gees, Staying Alive. Yeah. Verna says, Aaron, you are the one that is supposed to protect them from their stupidness. Yeah, sometimes they're stupid anyway. But yeah, try and figure out ways that you can mitigate that and see if that will work. Yeah. One of the things that I saw today, I saw a bird jump in the quailmobile. Now, I was taking her out to process her, so she was freaked out. But she jumped in the quailmobile and she hit her head on the wire. I mean, it's only this tall, right? And that's how tall they're supposed to be. And she started bleeding. And I was like, you hit your head really hard. So I'm considering changing that out for some window screen that would have a little bit more give. I'm thinking it might be a good idea. Yeah. Don says, I brought my injured bird I brought in an injured bird yesterday, 9-week-old hen. She is so bored she will cry a couple times a day. Yeah, they like living in groups, and I've pretty much made the decision for me. If I feel I have to remove a bird from a population in order to fix it, it's just going to get it's going to freezer camp, because I don't feel that's unless there's, let's say I fall in love with one of the birds. Okay, that's possible, and have a pet. But for my purposes for them, which is food, meat, and eggs, I can hatch more. That's my thought process, and I know that's not everybody's thought process. but I can do what I can for them. You know, I mean, I have Epsom salted, you know, given them Epsom salt baths and cleaned their feet and all of that. I have done that. But if it's not something that's easily fixable, then they're not going to make it. Yeah, then I just dispatch them. Aaron says, I'm going to put a hammock in the quail barn so I can teach them, or just put a TV so they can watch YouTube videos. That would be pretty funny. You know, our the brooder is right next to the television, which this room has a history. I bought my house and I'm like, oh, that's going to be the library. I'm going to have no electronics in that room. And then Manuel moved in. He brought a television in. I didn't have a television before that. And then that became the media room. And now we have quail. And now it's the quail room and the media room. But if we watch a movie in there, the birds watch too. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. And I think it probably does a little bit of desensitizing for them. So when they go out, they're not quite as, you know, jumpy as they might otherwise be. Yeah. Steve says, thanks, Ed. Staying alive. Staying alive. Yep, still stuck in my head. Yep. Ed says, Aaron, make sure they have extra batteries for the remote. He's going to be in there training his quail. Don says, dominant hen pecks all other hens. Her back got cut open from toenails. I need to heal her, put her back, and call the dominant hen, I think. Yeah, I would, if there is anybody who is picking on other ones, that's the one to remove. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, do you have a sandbox? Because if it's from toenails, I'm guessing it's from the male breeding. If they have a sandbox, that will, you know, take care of their nails a little bit. Even if you just give it to them, you know, every once in a while, it'll act like a file because they'll want to play in it and take a sand bath. I think you said you have that though already. Yeah. Sounds about right, Dawn, if you can find the one. Yeah, if you can find the bully. Dawn says, I found the dominant hen last night. She has another one almost pecked bald. All hens have roughed up feathers, and she is only one with a perfect back feathers. Yeah. That's usually it. You know, the perfect looking ones are the troublemakers. Yeah. And I agree with Verna. She says, yep, that is for freezer camp, Dawn. Dawn says, I do have a sandbox. I thought you did, but have not given it to this batch of birds. Okay. Yeah, they might need that. And I mean, it's not a bad thing to clip their nails if they need it, but hopefully you're breeding for ones that you don't have to do that for. But you can do that. I think they have a quick, like, I mean, they do, like chickens and dogs and stuff. So just don't cut too short. And you should be able to see it through the nail. Yeah. Yeah. So, like I said, we butchered birds today. We did, I think it was 30 exactly. We did 30 of them in 2 hours, 15 minutes. And that is faster than before. I am getting faster. It's faster when Manuel helps skin. He doesn't like to do the evisceration, so I do that. But yeah, it's getting faster. Dawn says, darn, I wanted the hens for eggs. Yeah. Well, she can live on her own. Maybe she'll make a great house pet. I don't know. All right. So is everybody, I'm guessing everybody here, since we didn't have anything come up, everybody here was safe for the snowstorm and ice storm. Is anybody in an area that is going to continue to have that? Because I think the big storm is pretty much heading away. And then in the west, we're going to get rain. And then I think the Sierra Mountains are also going to get snow with us again. So that is a question. Verna says got up to 23 today, going to be 35 tomorrow. just enough to melt. And it says Mark safe from winter storm. Good. No more falling. Dawn says I'll bring her in when this one is healed up all the way, and if she does not lay eggs, she goes to freezer in the next warm day. Yep. Good idea. Yeah. So I am thinking that the batch I have right now, which is what, a day over 3 weeks old? I think they're a day over. No, today. They were born on Monday. They were hatched on Monday and Tuesday. So they're 3 weeks old today. I'm going to be putting some of those outside, 30 of those outside after the live. And then the rest of them will stay in the brooder. I don't have any in the incubator right now. So they're going to stay in the brooder. We have one more quail mobile that is partially done. And once that's done, then 15 more will go out there. And then we'll be left with the rest of them. And I think they're just going to live out their lives in the brooder, which is big. It's not, if you guys have seen the brooder before, it's a big thing with a 1/2-inch floor, and it's fine to do that. I wouldn't do that if you had like a little tote, but they'll have enough room then to do that. So it's good. Diana says warming up here in Kansas. Good. Hopefully it doesn't warm up, melt it, and then slushify it. Because then it will freeze again, and that's not fun. Ed says supposed to be 60 degrees on Friday. Burr. I don't know what it is right now. It's 56, I think, is what it says right now. I have a thermometer over by the door. It's not supposed to get cold here. It's just supposed to get rainy and windy. So, yeah. Verna says Thursday and Friday will be 51. So hopefully it'll warm up and actually melt instead of just melt partway. Dawn says warming into mid-50s midweek here. Yeah. And Friday we will be getting your rain. Friday we'll be getting my rain too. Is it going all the way? I didn't see if it's the same storm. If it's going all the way over there, it has to make it over the Rocky Mountains to get over to you, Verna. Yeah. And this should be the first rain that the baby bunnies will experience really when they're outside the nest box. Tortellini's babies are pretty much not using the nest box. I left it in there just to see what happens tomorrow if they need the extra hidey place. I don't know. And meatballs are using it still. So I don't understand that because they are like half a day older. I don't know, half a day, a couple hours older. They're born on the same day as tortellinis. And so I just think that's interesting that they're both they're so different, I mean, tortellinis are larger than meatballs, but meatball has more. Yeah. Steve says we got up to 37 today, lowering back to 30. Should be 65 by Wednesday. No more vortex for me. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. Verna says, yep, going south, then towards us. Oh, okay. Dawn says your storm heads over here after our warm up. Oh boy. Oh, Verna says because they love being babied, the bunnies. They do, and it's so cute because they're starting to clean mama's face and all that. It's like, sorry, I peed on your face. Let me clean that for you. Yeah, babies can be gross. I went to go pet Meatball one time. She had a face full of pee. I'm like gosh, bathe yourself. She did, but it must have just happened. Yeah. So, yeah. So they're doing good. We, like I said, on Christmas, we cuddled all of them for quite a while. And not all of them, all of tortellinis for quite a while. And tortellinis you can pick them up and touch them all. They don't really like being picked up. But there's a couple that come up for pets. They just go up like this, like, oh, can you pet me? And so that's good. I believe it's 4 weeks old when you can sex rabbits. So they have 1 more week, and then we can see what we have. And if there's a girl, then we're going to keep a girl. So hope for girls. Maybe they'll all be girls, and we can pick and choose. And then one of them is, so their mom is a Black New Zealand. I don't know whether she's purebred or not. It's just what I was told she was when I got her, from a person doing 4-H. So I'm assuming that's what she is. And then dad is a Californian. Again, no papers or anything, but dad of these babies dad is a Californian and mom is a Black New Zealand. So I am wondering, I'm kind of thinking that and I haven't looked this up yet, that the white coloring, the Californian coloring is dominant. Just because Meatball is a daughter of the same parents, and she has only had babies that look like her. She's never had the black babies. So I'm wondering if the Californian is dominant, and if we want to have a variety of colors, then we would keep a black one. And if we wanted to not have, like, if we decide that's not important, then we could keep a white one. And what's interesting about the white ones is that all of them have a little bit of gray on them. So I just find that interesting, because hers before, I think the 3 litters she had last year, 1 rabbit had a little bit of gray on it. So it'd be interesting to see if that is something that goes through all the way to adulthood, or if that's a baby coloring. I don't know. So if anybody knows if what I said is true, let me know, or false. I'm just curious. I don't know that it really matters. I mean, we are raising them for meat. It's kind of neat to have the different ones, different colors, but not really important to me. Yeah, they're fun. So, yeah. So I'd like you guys to do is to kind of, if you have your male cages, keep an eye out for that phenomena that I was talking about earlier, and see if you see the same thing. I'm going to keep my eyes out now that I've experienced that with with separating them in those quailmobiles, and I'll figure it out, at least for mine, and it'd be interesting to see what other people come up with. I think the foam is a valid point, and I think the potential for them to molt differently is also a valid point. I mean, I kind of think that the females might want to molt all at once. You know, there you see them and they have bare backs and stuff, and I'm wondering if that's just a result of, hey, I need to lay eggs. Let's just do this now and get rid of it so that I can go lay eggs. Because often when they're in molt, they don't lay eggs and aren't productive in that manner. But then the males, I can't say that I remember seeing males molting. So if it's a continuous molt, it would act more like a layering, I would think. I don't know. It would be interesting. Interesting to follow. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, does anybody have any more questions or fun things that came up this week? Steve says, I never found anything that sex had to do with molt in my research. Doesn't mean doesn't. Did you look for it? Did you look for it? That is something that I have come upon in my work, is when an article says we found this species between this elevation and this elevation. Well, if you don't say what the elevation is of your test area, you don't know if that's a maximum or minimum, or if like, hey, we saw them at the top of the hill and here's how high the top of the hill was. Knowing the range of data that you could have versus what you did find is interesting. Interesting if you want to extrapolate that data. Yeah. Dawn says, I will say I had more males in the bachelor cage than in a covey, so there were more birds in the cage. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's concentrated, but I'm just saying between two cages, they had the same number and kind of had different messiness. Maybe boys are just messy. I don't know. Gotta blame it on something, right? Yeah. So today was a quail day for us. And yeah. Steve says maybe I can go hungry a time or two and let some males age out to molt age. Steve, do you call it 6 weeks? Is that what you're doing? I know some people call when they're earlier so they don't squawk. They don't squawk. Squawk is not a quail term. So they don't make a lot of noise and crow. If you can call their noise crowing, I think it should have a different noise, a different name. It's not like a chicken crowing. Aaron says it could be that the male poop is still sticky even when they are fully foaming. Yeah, it could be, or not fully foaming. It could be. It could be a like a scent thing maybe, because out in the wild they would be walking around and say, "Oh, here's my territory." It could very well be. Yeah, that's a good point. That it might not actually have to do with reproduction as much as hey, here I am, here's what I have to say. You know, our neighborhood dogs, one of my neighbors, I'm sure it has been come up with someone else, but one of my neighbors, you know, she had a dog and we go walk the dog with her and she'd say, "Oh, he has to read the P-mail." Like email and P-mail. Yeah, because there's lots of information in poop. Now, whether the birds have that ability to pick it up, I'm not so sure about that, but it could be giving signals to other animals in the area. Yeah. Dawn says, "Cull if they get too loud since I am stealth here." Or when they start fighting. I like that, when I'm stealth. Yeah. Steve says, "Nah, they typically get to irritating crow age, which reminds me they need to go." Yeah, I think you can breed the ones that don't crow as much, and then that would help. I find that the ones that I have now don't crow as much as the ones that I had when I started. And I think part of my selection was, well, are they big? This is for the jumbos. Are they big? Are they healthy? And then how they treat the ladies, and then what do they sound like? Because some of them have some quite annoying crows. Yeah. Don says, "Are the roosters like the hens when they need others? I have a divided cage, one roo on one side and two on the other side of the wire." I don't know how it works, males and females, but the species itself is a group species. So they live in a covey. They live in a group. So I wouldn't say they would do well by themselves. Now, people say they've done well by themselves as a pet, but then I would argue that you have just become their covey instead of birds. So they're still with others, just that other is not a bird. That makes sense? Yeah. Aaron says, "I like my neighbors to listen to the quail crowing." Do they like to listen to it, or do you not like your neighbors? Oh, Steve says, "I find that busy boys don't have time to crow." They find time. They find time. Yeah. But if they're busy and happy, they don't need to crow about anything, huh? Aaron says, I have 8 to 10 different quail cages in the barn, and they love to crow back and forth to see which ones can be the loudest. That could be a positioning thing. They may be, hey, I'm over here. What, you're over there? Yeah, I'm over here. Don says, my busy boys and the coveys will answer each other. Yeah. Sometimes I've noticed that in the two aviaries that they will answer each other. In the summertime for the grow out, the quail mobiles, I plan to put something along the sides that won't let them see out, at least very far, and then that will act as a little bit of a sound barrier. I know they will be able to still hear them, but and then also it'll make it darker for them. Right now, I'm not bothering with that because it's already dark enough. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Well, so those that are listening that might not be interacting right now, basically the male quails, the male quail of Coturnix is the type we're talking about. I'm sure it would be similar for other types as well, but the males, they crow when they're mature, or when they're reaching mature. I had one crow at 4 weeks, or I think I had one crow at 3.5 weeks. Anyway, so they start crowing when they are reaching maturity, sexual maturity. And if you want them to be quieter, the things that you can do are separate them from females before those hormones get going, because then they'll like, oh, I don't know what females are. I'm sure they do, but they won't be as gung-ho to get to them. And then the other part of it is, if you have lights on, that will excuse me, it's been a long day. If you have lights on, that will encourage them to go into breeding behavior, which includes crowing. So if you want them to not do that, then you reduce the light. Now, if you reduce the light, just know that you reduce the breeding behavior, which if you're trying to breed them, that's not good. If you're not trying to breed them, that's good. So 16 hours of light is what it's supposed to be for egg production. And I think it's just a little less than that for males to start going into breeding mode. So that's what we're talking about. Don says, Katrina, can you film your quailmobile someday? I'd like to see it. Yes, they've been scattered through some of the videos, but I have everything I need now for the build video. I just need to actually put it together, and there's a lot of stuff to go through. So yes, I will. And then they're still not officially done because they don't have the automatic waterer done. But other than that, and then like a permanent roof, I just have, they're covered. They're fine. It could be permanent, but I have other materials that I want to use for that. But I can put those in other videos. I'll put that into an addition. Yes, the answer is yes, Dawn. You will. I can't promise you on time though, because I have a lot of things going on, and I know that one and the brooder one, I have a lot of footage to go through. And like the video, even the short videos can take, an hour or two just to edit and go through, which is, I did not expect that when I started YouTube, that it would take that long to go through and make a video. It does take some time, and I don't even put music to mine or anything. So yeah, it does take time. But you will get to see it. Aaron says, my neighbors that I like get free eggs for the noise. The ones I don't care for get to listen to the wonderful sounds of the quail and 20 plus chicken roosters. Oh boy. I guess they don't have anything to trade, huh? Verna says, no, the males will mount each other and try to mate. LOL. When culling the bachelor pad, most of the males looked as bald as the females in other cages. Yeah, I think that would be true if it wasn't like the darkest time of the year here, because I didn't have any of that from this batch. But I can totally say that one of the ones, actually, I think I only did one batch that was all male in the trailers. I think that's all I did. Yeah, and they did have some breeding behavior evidence. Yeah. Don says my last males I called got 4 hours of light and they went nuts crowing and fighting. Wow. Maybe it was too little light. I don't know. Interesting. Oh, I don't need now. Just whenever. for the Quimobiles. I'm curious to see how they're made to keep light out. I haven't done that part, so that's going to be an add-on. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the basic body, and then I'm going to do the add-ons with the automatic water, and which I actually have a video of already, and then the shading. Yeah. We'll see if that works. I have not done that before, and I don't know if it works, but I know in theory it should work. Yeah. Odon says, Verna, I had that in my first hatch with the roosters. Yeah. Yeah. the boys will be boys. We'll just say that. All right, guys. If you guys don't have anything else, if you have something else to talk about, go ahead and put it in the comments. If not, then I'm going to call it a night. Give you a minute or so to think about if you have any other comments. Yeah, and I'm hoping that everybody who got snow does well. If it thaws and refreezes, definitely make sure you pay attention before you take a step. Don't fall. Stay on your feet. And for rain, I mean, definitely stay out of flooded areas and don't try and drive through huge puddles. Stay inside and maybe plant some indoor seeds. There's a good thing to do while it's raining. Plant indoor seeds, or plant seeds indoor that you can grow out and put outdoor later. Yeah. Dawn says, thanks, Katrina and Maud. Good night. I need to go get eggs. I still have to do that too. It's probably raining by now. Good night, guys. And thank you. And thank you very much, Verna, for being my moderator. Verna is great. And Verna got her sprouts going. Awesome. Verna has a tower, I think, is what she's talking about doing sprouts in. Yeah. It's awesome. Good night, all, says Guidro's Hermit Homestead. Good night. And I'm going to sign off here. Have a wonderful week. And I hope everybody does well with more weather. And we will see you next week. Same time, same channel. Every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Oh, okay. We have a warning. Don't click on eggs link in the other place. All right. Have a blessed night, everyone, from Verna, and good night, everyone, from Jesse. Good night.